Hi, this is Rod Keller. I'm here with Chris Shelton at the International Cultic Studies Association meeting in Philadelphia. And I just wanted to ask him a couple things that I'd been thinking about lately. And I was reading a review of Marty Rathman's book, Memoirs of a Scientology Warrior. I haven't read the book, but the one thing that struck me is he says apparently that the way to get to the top in the Sea Org is to be a big brown noser.
Yeah, yes, that is very true. You will not get anywhere if you don't kiss ass. And I think that's pretty standard for a lot of bureaucracies, and the Sea Org is very much like that.
And in a session today, it was presented Bitterman's Chart of Coercion from an Amnesty International report. And the point here, enforcing trivial demands develops habits of compliance. Does that ring true for the Sea Org as well?
Very much so. And it's very much the Sea Org from day one. When you go through this boot camp process called the Estates Project Force, and from day one you are being indoctrinated into following orders. They introduce you to a concept called backflash, which is an unnecessary response to an order, which is basically anything other than yes sir. So, and it doesn't matter if you're talking to a man or a woman when you're saying yes sir, it's always sir.
Right.
So, so that is grilled into you from day one. So when you are in the Sea Org, if a senior person gives you a direction or an order, no matter what it is, whether it's pick up that trash off the floor or, produce this event, I mean, it could be anything, like from small to huge, your only response is supposed to be yes sir. And then, even if you don't know how to do it, even if you have questions about it, even if you have I have no clue what I'm doing, the other thing you're indoctrinated with very early on is make it go right. So, that's just the standard, because the senior doesn't have to know how to do it. Right. The senior just has to know how to tell you to do it. So, and if you go, well, I don't know how to do that, they go, make it go right.
Right. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is personal magnetism and charisma of cult leaders.
Yeah.
And that a lot of people think that a cult leader has to be charismatic, like a Jim Jones or a David Koresh. And I get the feeling that that Scientologists think L. Ron Hubbard was very charismatic. I don't see that at all.
I know. It's a personal thing. I never met Hubbard personally, but when I was in Scientology, and especially when I was in the Sea Org, I always, if I met somebody who had worked with him or met him, I always grilled them. I mean, grilled them. I wanted to know all about L. Ron Hubbard. And one for one, they would say that L. Ron Hubbard was a guy that was the kind of person, he was kind of a big guy, and he was the kind of man that you immediately knew when he walked in the room. You immediately, there was something, it was like you could feel it in the air kind of thing. And this was a number of people. I probably talked to, in the time that I was in the Sea Org, 20 or 30 people who had either worked with him or met him or were in the same room as him. And this was Sea Org members. This was also a few Scientology public people who maybe had been in the Sea Org before or had somehow been around him. And every one of them commented on this. They said he had a presence. And that's not something that communicates in film, or in a picture. It's something you get in real life. I was thinking about this morning, actually, because it's so damn humid here in Philadelphia. And you can't communicate humidity in a photo, right? I could take a picture and I could send it to my wife and I go, oh, man, it's really hot here. But you don't see that in the picture. You don't see L. Ron Hubbard's presence in a photo. But everyone who met him communicates about that. They talk about it, and how he was larger than life. He always had stories. He was the life of the party kind of guy, and I think that was, and he had flaming red hair too,
right,
which always stood out. So I think that he used those things to his advantage, and he had a bellowing voice. He wasn't shy, he wasn't reticent, and I think that was how he emanated presence and charisma.
It seems like David Miscavige is the opposite type of cult leader.
Yeah, because he's short.
Because he's short.
He's a little tiny guy.
Doesn't have a booming presence.
No, but I have met him.
You
I
have?
was in the same room as him a few times, and first time was at Flag. There was a 3-day conference where he was briefing all of us like for hours in the day, and then I passed him in the hallway a couple times in Big Blue, in the PAC base. And the thing about David Miscavige is that he is intense. So yeah, it was kind of opposite.
He seems like he's modeled himself maybe on some of the science fiction heroes.
Yeah, he's
General Heller and
yes,
Johnny Goodboy Tyler.
Yes, yeah, who L. Ron Hubbard kind of wanted to be.
Right. He's the cult leader that L. Ron Hubbard could never be.
That's right, because he's this muscular, stocky guy. David Miscavige is, when I met him and when I saw him, his shortness was not what I was on my mind. As a Sea Org member, that wasn't what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh my God, I'm standing in the presence of the leader of our, and I didn't think it was a cult either, so I didn't say the leader of our cult, of our religious movement. And he emanates, how do I put this? His presence, David Miscavige is so used to people waiting on him and people paying attention to him that his presence demands it. Mm-hmm. He's got this look in his eyes when you're around him that he's intense. That's probably the best word for it.
Okay. Well, thanks for doing this with me, Chris.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye.